Whoa. Microphone go. All right. Hey, let's thank. There you go. Let's thank. Ta-da. Whoa. Microphone go. All right. Hey, let's thank. There you go. Let's thank. Ta-da. Whoa. Microphone go. All right. Hey, let's thank. There you go. Let's thank. Ta-da. Good. Alright. Hey Bob, can we maybe pull that close please a little bit? Morning, welcome everybody. Oh, hey Andrew. Alright. We're here. Let's begin.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I'm going to invite Brother Josh up here to give us our acknowledgement of country to get us started. There you go. Good to see you, brother. We have a microphone for you. We do. Yep. Hello. Yep.
No.
What did you say at the second we start? This thing won't work.
That's right, brother. That's a prophecy.
That's spot on.
That's the way it is.
Yeah, right.
I want to first acknowledge the lands on which we meet, the lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I'd like to pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. And just remember we always will be Aboriginal land, and we do walk on stolen land.
Thank you, Josh. All right. Can I get someone with a lighter to light the candles, please?
You're
doing everything today, John.
This symbolises the light of Christ present among us. Thanks. How good is it when we gather? It is like oil poured down over the head and running down the beard. That's a very masculine image from the Psalms there. And I've never had a beard, not like Moose, who's here with us today, brother. I don't know what oil would be like poured over it, but it sounds fun. And it brings that sense of truth. So it is good to be together. So let's say, I'll say the prayer that starts us off. My heart, my eyes are not haughty, my heart is not proud. I do not concern myself with things too great and marvellous for me. Instead, I've quieted and calmed my soul, like a weaned child that knows all is well when mama is in. Mighty God, for the wisdom of that child, we now ask. Amen. I woke up this morning in Melbourne.
What?
So, yes. I hope there's been no outbreaks while I was gone. Could be in trouble. So yes, I had 24 hours with my family, which was lovely. So anything could happen today because I'm a bit on my ear. And so I've never been more nervous about it, but I've also never felt more like a pastor because today's sermon, I've managed to summarise 5 points, all beginning with the letter A. So look out. So hold me to that, right? Hold me to that, because you will all remember this.
Definitely I will.
At all. So, but we're going to hear a bit in a moment, not quite yet, from the story of when Jesus flips the tables in the temple. Happy Mardi Gras week, everyone. Yeah, we've just had, thank you, Melissa. We have had a huge week of celebrations here, some internal and some external. We've had someone from ACON come and speak to us about how we can be better advocates and allies in that space. That was a very inspirational talk from Justin Coonan. We've also had an open mic event during the week. We've had a fashion parade that was here. I was a unicorn, a bit of a grumpy unicorn in that space, but I thought I was full of joy. Then I looked at the photos and there was
You're very awkward.
it was a very awkward. Guess what? Today, one of the A's is awkward. All right.
Awesome.
Speaking of grumpy unicorns, there's nothing on the what's on page anymore. The last thing I've seen was the Christmas event.
Yeah.
We don't know what's happening. So we can't come and participate.
Yeah, so we didn't put that on the What's On page because deliberately it wasn't meant to be some of the public, but you texted me earlier in the week and we're in the process of updating the website. So it's all there. So appreciate that very much. So we're getting there, we're going to fix it all up. Which reminds me, there's another thing on tomorrow that I'm just going to pull out because.
John,
Yes.
I just want to say something about the Mardi Gras events that Wayside ran.
Sure.
I
Joe, do you want to come up and say, or do you want?
Go, Joe.
All right, cool. Come on up.
Yeah, baby.
All right.
John, this is specifically to you, that I am so, and so is Janet, so appreciative of. We're so appreciative of the events that Wayside ran.
Yes.
I, as a queer woman, felt really included in the community of Wayside, and it was a blessing to us. So thank you.
Thank you. That is something I will take that on behalf of Wayside. It is a core to who we are, to be a community of openness and welcome and hospitality for everyone. And the ways we go about that is with intention.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't just put up a sign that says everyone's welcome because not anyone will walk in the door. You need to make that place a safe space where someone can walk in and feel not only accepted but also be mirrored.
Yes.
See something familiar. Yes, you wanted to say something, Kylie?
But that's it. Yeah, and it's so important, especially in church culture, that has traditionally been so exclusive and so condemning. So thank you.
It is an honour to be a part of a community that challenges me to be a better person every day and hopefully challenges us to be more loving, more open and more compassionate to others. Awesome. Love it. We have an opportunity tomorrow here at 12:30 to 1:15. If you want to come, please let me know because due to COVID and restrictions, we need to book you in for it. But for 45 minutes, come and experience the joy of creating community through classical music. So we have a classical music quartet, some pretty funky dudes called the Phoenix Quartet, who are going to be playing a lunchtime concert here, 12:30. If you want to come, please let me know. I need to book you a spot because there's about 40 spots only in this space with current restrictions, and we want you to have a spot if you want to come. So please just come and just let yourself be carried away in the midst of all the chaos and the beauty of what's happening in your lives. There is no greater way to connect with the divine, I think, than through beautiful music. So let's continue on. Brother Desmond, will you take us through our psalm?
The heavens so you hold up.
Oh yes. So the bold is together. Do you all have an order of service with us?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks.
The boulders. Yep. The heavens
Declare the glory of God. The stars proclaim the work of his hands.
Day after day, they pour forth speech. Night after night, they reveal knowledge.
They have no speech, they use no words, no sound is heard from them.
Yet their voice goes out into the earth, their words to the ends of the world. In the heavens God has pitched his tent for the sun.
It is like a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, like a champion rejoicing to run his course.
It raises at one end of the heavens and makes its circuit to the other. Nothing is deprived for its warmth.
The Lord of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making the wise simple.
The precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart.
The commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes.
The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The decrees of the Lord are firm, and all of them are righteous.
They are more precious than gold, than much pure gold.
Sweeter than honey from the honeycomb.
By them your servant is warned, and keeping them there is a great reward.
But who can discern
Their own errors, forgive my hidden faults.
Keep your servant also, from willful sin. May they not rule over me, then I will be blameless, innocent of great transgression.
May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer.
Thank you, Desmond, brother. But who can discern their own errors? How's that for a question? Remember, whenever I'm wrong, right up until the moment I realise I'm wrong, I feel 100% right.
Don't know what you don't know.
That's right. That's,
See, I'm like a woman. I'm right when I'm right when I'm wrong.
Yeah, you preach,
I'm not even going to touch that. I'm not even going to touch that.
International Women's Day, Josh.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, Happy International Women's Day,
Yeah.
as we celebrate this week International Women's Day. So we've got a lot to, I was in the airport this morning and it was blaring out Grace, is it Tame or Tame? How do we?
I think
Tame. As she was giving an address at the National Press Club. We have a long way to go as a nation. A long, long way to go. But the good news is we get to walk that path together and grow together and learn together. So I'm actually really not only grateful for her courage, but also we need to match her courage with our own and to walk with her. And the message she is calling out for all of us, actually. We have a super special treat, and it's not just that Lani's here, and it's not just...
Good timing!
Yes. Welcome, sister. Have a seat. And we also have Bronwyn in her best Mardi Gras boa.
Yeah.
And Sparklies. Kylie's going to take us through the singing today. So, put your hands together. We have a real treat. Classically trained.
Oh, no, God. It's a classic.
You're going to...
Good morning, beautiful people.
Where's mine?
Oh yeah, baby.
Oh, favoritism.
I'll pass that around. It's a little bit of a promo for the classical thing we've got going tomorrow. Let me know if you want to come. It says sign your name at the front desk. That's a lie. Let me know. All right.
Good morning, beautiful people. And I would also love to say good morning to the glorious Jennifer James, who is joining us because she's working from home online. So our first song,
Whatever you want, I think. Right, Tim?
Grace? Oh yeah, whatever. Oh well, we could do You've Got a Friend at the beginning and at the end. We could do it twice. Is that right? Okay, so we're going to do You Got a Friend at the beginning and at the end because it's just such a gorgeous song. So we'll do the warm-up version together. You Got a Friend.
Let's all stand.
Oh, nothing.
Oh, it's so gorgeous to sing. We can all sing together. Praise the Lord. Okay. All night. Grace upon grace.
Graham wrote, you know that?
Did Graham write this?
Graham wrote the words to this.
And the music.
And the music.
Graham Long
Graham
is
Long.
the singer and the songwriter and the legend of all legends. My daughter Brianna said one time, that Graham Long could be Jesus. He just might be Jesus. I'll just sing.
We can do You Gotta Get Friend again.
Just one more time because it is so magnificent. And it's so beautiful to be able to be together.
All right.
Anyway, for you doing the sermon.
This is the spicy version.
And soon I will be there.
Thank you so much. Let's give Kylie a great hand. Awesome to hear. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful. What great songs too, eh? Bronwyn used to sing all night, all day. I was watching over me to her babies every night. And one of the favourite songs of our brothers and sisters who are on the streets. And I used to teach that when I was a chaplain in Judy, when kids were having trouble getting to sleep, and they found a very beautiful song to be able to sing. Yeah.
There's more verses to it too.
Yeah.
We only ever sing that verse, but there's more to it. I can't remember, it's been 24 years.
Let's focus on what's been awesome this week. There's been it's not always been the easiest few weeks, but let's spend some time thinking about what's kind of caught your breath. What's been awesome this week? And we've got Bob's going to come down first. It's Bob's birthday today. Typical Bob fashion. Oh, I'll give you a high five.
Sorry.
In typical Bob fashion, he's not going to be talking about himself. He's going to be telling us about something that's been pretty awesome this week.
It's awesome.
And if he can do it without crying, I'll give you $5, right?
That's what I'm afraid of.
Everybody wants a copy of this house, okay?
Can you hear me? I'm not very experienced with it. Your song that you sung twice is perfect.
Come on.
This is just a quick little bit of background. It's about my 2-year and 3-month-old grandson, Luca. And he goes to daycare a couple of days a week. And the teachers, I don't know what they call them at daycare, sent this to my daughter. During our time outside this morning, Luca noticed that one of his peers, I'll call them classmates after this, was a little upset. Luca walked over to his classmate and gently reached for her hand and began walking her to the garden. On their walk to the garden, Luca gently and calmly rocked her arm and with a wide smile said, "It's okay." Luca continued holding his peer's hand until she was happier and was ready to engage and play with him. Luca and his classmate began communicating both verbally and non-verbally with each other as they went on an adventure through the garden, under and behind all the trees and over the bridge. The two children continued to engage in turn talking and cooperatively playing with each other throughout the morning, sharing lots of exchanges and smiles as they did so. It was wonderful to observe Luca during these interactions with his classmate this morning. He showed great empathy, kindness and care as he acknowledges and responded respectfully to his classmates' feelings. Luca demonstrated his well-emerging social and emotional skills as he continued to support his classmate until she was comfortable to enter the play setting. Well done, Luca. This was amazing to see.
How awesome is that? And while we're on the theme of little wisdom from little ones, 2 amazing things happened yesterday in my family. One is my sister gave birth. Yeah. So there we are. We have 10 granddaughters from my parents. Do the statistics on that. I think it's 0.0004% of a chance that you will flip a coin 10 times and get 10 heads in a row. No grandsons at all.
My husband, who came and talked here, he's one of 10 children, and all the girls had girls had boys, and all the boys had girls. So there was Oliver, my son, is the only in 10 children, the only one to carry on the name.
There you go.
I mean, bizarre. You have all these grandchildren and all the wrong names.
Dad, when we first started having babies, he said, the first one of you to bear a son will get the Rolex. He gave up 3 granddaughters ago, and I was over there for dinner and he threw this box at me and hit me in the chest. It was the Rolex. I found out it cost $1,000 a year to service the thing, so it's in the family safe, right? Anyway, in line with that, my two nieces, the older sisters, were running around a bit exhausted. Caesar, hospital, COVID, they couldn't go visit quite yet. So we were running around. I took them for manicures, and then they were still a bit exhausted but couldn't sleep. They were so excited. So I said, how about you write a letter to your little sister? And so my six-year-old niece wrote, "Dear Natasha Rose," that's her name, "you are very cute. I will be a good big sister to you. I will have lots of good fun and huddles with you. I'm 8 years old, and I love reading books, and I will read Peppa Pig books to you because I think you'll enjoy Peppa Pig. I can't wait to meet you. I will help Mum put you to sleep, and me and your other sister will take turns sleeping in the same room with you." Let's see how long that one
You need to frame that one and put that outside the 15-year-old's door.
I go to school during the day, but I will think about you when I'm there, and I will look forward to cuddling you when I get home. No need to worry about your other sister. She loves babies too. We'll give you lots of hugs and kisses. Lots of love, your big sister. P.S. Just remember that I'm your big sister, and also I won't do your nappies. All right? Beautiful. Shimona, if you're watching this, I'll send you a copy of this letter that she wrote. How gorgeous is that? All right. Where'd Joyce go?
She's gone.
All right, she's gone. She just want to give us a little update on how school's going, how Chloe is.
She's very religious.
Her friends.
She prays herself.
Anyone, what's been awesome this week? Irma, you had something awesome?
Yeah, I went
Get up,
to
get
see.
up. We've got people at home.
I went to see a play that some friends of mine did on Dorothy Day. And I'm forever amazed at what actors can do. Because you stand there with nothing, but you've got to put your heart and soul and mind and belief into portraying somebody that had a very strange upbringing, a very difficult life, trying to make choices. I'm impressed, to me that's awesome because it made me question my own faith or lack thereof. And her, it's a bit like running away, the thing of the Jonah, running away from God in the opposite direction, but he will come and find you somewhere, no? I find that awesome.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know who Dorothy Day is, she was around at about the turn of the last century, 1900s, working, I think it was in New York?
Yeah, New York.
New York, and did an amazing work around the time of the Industrial Revolution. A single mum, bit of a rock star, did amazing things, and she wrote a lovely biography called The Long Loneliness.
The long loneliness.
The Long Loneliness.
But there's a lot of stuff apparently that was not in that book, and it's really to do with her struggle to be real, to get out of a life that she felt was. And she was hassled by the police. She was in jail for her stand-up for social justice and votes for women and all that. I didn't know her half of it.
Oh yeah, she was a life that we don't speak enough about, particularly in this International Women's Day. International Women.
Did you say Dorothea or Dorothy?
Dorothy.
Dorothy.
Dorothy
Long
Day.
loneliness.
Yes.
And it's on all week at the Chippen Street Theatre, if anybody wants to go and see it. It's well worth seeing it. It's only a small theatre, but it's the bravery of actors to try and attempt to put life into somebody they don't know about, and to try and make it so it's not artificial, but it has credibility, it has reality to it. And it makes you think about what it means to have faith or not to have faith. And that it's okay not to have faith.
Yeah. It's really okay not to have that.
What's the name of the theatre? The name of the theatre?
Chippen Street Theatre, it's near Central.
What else has been awesome this week?
Oh, Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras. All right, you want to get up and share? You've got to do it nice and loud into the mic. Anyone? The mic's here.
Good morning all, and I'm sorry I was running late, but I was having this is not really so much an awesome thing, but to me it kind of is. On Wednesday, I think it was, I had a meeting here in the afternoon after they shut, and then I I was on my way, I left, and then I was on my way home, and the funniest thing happened, I lost my memory on how to go home. Which way I went, which way to go home. I had no idea where to go. I was actually, the only way I knew where to go was St Vinny's Hospital. And that's the only place I knew how to get to. I didn't know where I was, I didn't know anything. I was absolutely stunned. And I went in there and I've gone, I'm really afraid now. I've lost my memory. And
You went to St Vincent's.
I went to St Vinny's Hospital asking for help, and they had a look at me and said, yeah, that's your concussion. It's not going, it's not going to get any better any soon. So what they want me to do is just get my phone and put the GPS on. So if I do get lost, I know where I am and how to get home. The funny thing is, the awesome thing is, I know where I live, but it's the thing on how do I get there. And my brain just wouldn't let me click over and say. So I rang my best friend of all times, he's gay, and I said, help, you've got to come and take me home, because I don't know where I live. And he came all the way from Easton to the hospital at 11 o'clock at night and took me back to his house. And then the awesome thing was, he got me to ring my daughter, I haven't seen for 8 months, to come out and pick me up and take me back home. Yeah! And I was so happy that, in a way, I'm glad it happened, but I'm not. So just a little reminder from me to realise that even though I have concussion and I had that accident, there are friends out there, and I do still remember little things, and yeah, I'm glad I'm here today with all of you, and thank you for being so awesome.
What else has been awesome? Anyone else got anything? Joshy.
Is awesome.
So last week, a lot of you remember I wasn't in a really good spot last week, and I self-harmed for the very first time. Like one of the things that it was over was that I moved into a new place, and one of my support workers wasn't calling me to help me organise a removalist to get my stuff out of my old place. But a friend of mine from the suburbs that I know, who does an outreach van on a Wednesday night, his partner actually had some furniture in storage, and so I got my house nearly 85% furnished now. And it was only that they going to throw it out, but it goes to show that how broken the system actually is. If a caseworker or a support worker can't call you back when they promise to call you or whatever, but there's other people that will pick up the slack and help guide you into a better place. So that happened on Wednesday, and then so I'm getting mentally a little bit better day by day, but I've just got to work on trying to keep happy and trying to keep my head above water. So, yeah.
Good one. Thanks, brother. Hearing the theme of finding your way home.
Yeah.
Calling out for friends to help make that a possibility. So thank you everyone.
Did you hear them say last night that...
I didn't hear them say last night. Who's them?
That
What did they
Mardi
say?
Gras was the
Right.
largest gathering in the world of anyone at the moment right now, because no one is able to get together except in Australia.
Yes. No, I didn't hear that at all.
And that was
No.
just the largest, and you can, from the experience I had of not marching, but dancing up Oxford Street with Wayside years ago, was just so phenomenal, that sort of unconditional love that came from the crowd as we were giving it to them, sort of thing. It was just gorgeous to feel. And to think what would have been in that stadium last night, that just incredible outpouring of love would have just been amazing. It felt amazing on television, but it would have been even better live. It just would have been incredible to watch.
Awesome.
To be there.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Thank you, Bronwyn. I hadn't heard that, but now I know. Beautiful. Lovely. Let's all stand together and say the prayer the Lord taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Now pass the peace with those around you. I still recommend, with a bit of a socially distanced peace, but peace be with you. Peace be with you,
Sorry, I
Peace be with you. Peace be with Project your voice into that. Probably give it another 10 seconds, 20 seconds. So they get we'll just
More sweets.
we're connected. Hey everyone. Emma's going to give us our reading. And listen carefully, it's a ripper.
It is a ripper. The Gospel of John, chapter 2, beginning at verse 13. When it was almost time for the Jewish Passover, Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple courts he found people selling cattle, sheep and doves, and others sitting at tables exchanging money. So he made a whip out of cords and drove all from the temple courts, both sheep and cattle. He scattered the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. To those who sold doves, he said, "Get these out of here. Stop turning my Father's house into a market." His disciples remembered that it is written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." The Jews then responded to him, "What sign can you show to prove your authority to do all this?" Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and I will raise it up again in 3 days." They replied, "It has taken 46 years to build this temple, and you are going to raise it in 3 days?" But the temple he had spoken of was his body. After he was raised from the dead, his disciples recalled what he had said. Then they believed the scripture and the words Jesus had spoken.
This is the word of the Lord. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ern. Hey, not only last night did I was down in Melbourne for the birth of my 10th and final niece. There we go. I think we've had a guarantee there'll be no more.
You said it on the.
That's right. You know that song, One Little, Two Little, Three Little Indians? You know, 10 little Indian girls. We've got them now. But I have the Rolex. It was my dad's 80th birthday as well, so he shares a birthday with the piece 10 of the 10-piece set, right, which is lovely. So it was beautiful. We went out last night and we went to a place on Smith Street in Fitzroy. I was looking out for Emma, see if I could find her anywhere. Couldn't see her, but it's called Uncle Simon's Peking Duck Feast House. And the table was full, and I think they ordered for 50 people. There was only 8 of us there around the table, and everything was duck. So it started off with those duck pancakes, you know those ones? There you go. They are totally yum. Then it was like some stir-fry noodles with duck, and then rice with duck, and then some more duck, in case you were. And duck is so rich, right?
It is.
And you kind of, there's nothing to cut through the richness of it. So it was just one dish after the other. You know, the kind of Asian family gathering where about 10 minutes in you're unzipping your pants a little bit, and everyone looks at you like you're a freak of nature for saying you're even daring to say that you're full. And so you just keep eating and eating and eating, and I don't know how that used to be such a real part of my life. We just gorged, but it was a table that was full of food, and it was full of love, and it was full of conversation, and it was full of welcome. Jesus has just had in this story, just before this reading of him going to the temples and driving out some of the people in there, there's been a wedding feast. You know, the miracle of the water into wine, we've all heard of that. If we do or don't go to church, that's a common phrase, turning water into wine. There's a party going on, and it runs out of wine, and Jesus turns all this water into wine. He wants the party to keep going. He wants the feast to continue. And then he goes to the temple, and there's a different table there. There's a set of tables in that place. And believe it or not, these were set up in the outer courts, and we probably don't realise the import of his actions quite as much as we should, because right now we've just had the microphone open. Anyone can interrupt at Wayside. Everyone has a voice here. Everyone has the opportunity to speak a word of life into anyone's life here. We say, how do you want to access God? Because the work of Jesus was to rip the temple veil in two, which meant that was a curtain that they used to have in the inner court of the temple. It was called the Holy of Holies, and the high priest could only enter into that place once a year, and they used to have a rope around his waist in case he was caught up in the glory, and they'd pull him out and hope it wasn't burned to a cinder, right? And when Jesus died, you may have heard on the cross that the curtain was torn in two, which basically says we all have access, right? Because that's not been the reality for people like me, the clergy class. We haven't wanted people to have access, because that makes us lose power and control in this situation. Jesus' message is we all have access. We have a God of love, a God of healing, a God of welcome, a God who sets the table before us. In fact, the outer courts of the temple there, and the two tables he's recorded as turning over, were the money changers and the sellers of the doves and the pigeons. They were, when you would go to send your offerings, you couldn't just pull money out of your pocket. Or Roman coins, you had to go and get the money changed into the coins for the temple, and then you'd have to buy the cheapest, if you were the poorest person, offering of doves. So these were things that were designed to leave out people who didn't have much. And that's where he flipped those tables, where we are blocking access to something that should be freely given. Sometimes I think we block access to things that should be freely given in our own lives. You know, we have so many conditions. You know, I love seeing this baby, but also my heart little breaks a little bit. You think, at what point will we say, yes, but? You know, and that's an important part. But we do that. We love with conditions. How do we create tables of welcome and love? That's our challenge. Because this world is too full of exclusive access. I keep thinking of, remember a few years ago we had OPEC here in Australia, and the chaser got into a car and dressed up as the Canadians. And they dressed up as Canadians, and they had insecurity passes, and in the back seat, Chaz was dressed up as Osama bin Laden.
Yes.
And they
got
just
really through.
Yeah, they said, we'll probably get stopped at the first checkpoint.
No.
Right, and they got waved through, and they got waved through, and they got waved through. And then I think it was about the third checkpoint where they got really nervous. And eventually they stopped the car, and Chaz walked out with his arms up in surrender, dressed up as Osama bin Laden. Because that's how this world works. There are levels and levels of exclusiveness that are meant to not create welcome, but to create exclusivity, to create and perpetuate us versus them. And I don't know if you've ever found yourself in the inner circle. I have once or twice by accident. It feels very uncomfortable. It feels very, very uncomfortable. Because it's a table of nervousness. It's a table of anxiety. Am I good enough to be here? You know, and if I'm good enough to be here, where am I sitting? Am I sitting at the head of the table? Or who's above me? Who can I be attacking? That's the way of this world. A way of exclusivity, a way of anxiety, but the way of Jesus, the way of the kingdom, is a way of inclusiveness. Is a way of joy. Is the antidote to anxiety. So how does Jesus respond? And it's a model for how we should respond. And here's where the 5 A's come into it. I feel like a preacher finally. Got 5 A's.
Good.
And the first one is, how do we develop a theology of anger?
What?
An understanding of anger. I think it was Augustine that said, hope has 2 daughters. My dad has 10 granddaughters, but can anyone know what those 2 daughters are? What does Augustine call them?
When you said the dove, like love and hate?
No, he has a famous quote. It says, hope has 2 daughters, they are anger and courage. Right? It's probably one of the few things I agree with Augustine on. It's hope has 2 daughters, anger and courage. How do we get angry at the things that matter?
Yes.
So often we displace our anger into the wrong direction, onto the wrong people. God bless her, my mum has had a week. Right? Please stop watching, Mum. Someone upset her, and she's carried that anger, and the way she's fueled that anger fire is anyone who's attempted to get close to her to say, Mum, I think you should drop that anger. They've caught the anger. Right? That's kept the anger going. Right? It's just fueled her hate fire all week. But don't we do that sometimes? You know, if we don't transform our pain, we'll always transmit our pain to others. You know, I think the cross is that big symbol of the transformer, like up on a wall. How do we take the voltage and make it into a way that's usable? And that's how we use our anger. Right? How do we use our anger for the things that matter? And a theology of anger requires 3 things. And I'll tell you what they are. They're all beginning with A. Right? Gandhi also has a beautiful quote about anger I wrote here. He said, I have learned to use my anger for good. Without it, we would not be motivated to rise to a challenge. It is an energy that compels us to define what is just and unjust. Do you want me to say? I'll say that again. I have learned to use my anger for good. Without it, we would not be motivated to rise to a challenge. It is an energy that compels us to define what is just and unjust. Sit with your reaction, sit with your discomfort, sit with your anger, and see if it leads you to defining what is just and unjust. Alright. And the 3 ways we develop a theology of anger is to awaken, to acknowledge, and to act. Alright. We need to awaken. When we're upset, let's awaken to what this world, because so often the way this world is rocks us to sleep. Right? We just get so lost in the busyness of it all that we come to accept it. And then when we hear someone raise their voice like Grace tonight, we don't want to hear it because it interrupts business as usual. When we see a week like the Mardi Gras, that upsets people all the time because it's getting in the way of what they feel is normal. how do we awaken to what it is? And then the second one is, let's acknowledge that it causes us discomfort and pain, and it causes hurt for others as well. Let's grieve. The Psalms are beautiful. A third of the Psalms are praises, like, God, you're awesome. But there's also a third of the Psalms are laments, right? We have that language accessible to us. Coming to church, remember when I was younger, it was all about showing how good you were, how cool you were, how happy and how together you had it, right? It was letting you know, making it appear as if you had your crap together, as opposed to the place where you can just let it all hang out, which is what I love about Wayside. Sometimes we should let less hang out, and you should have seen our Mardi Gras parade, right? But it is the place where we can be ourselves. We can be open and honest before God. Remember, there was that story in the Bible where Jesus tells a parable of two people, a story of two people, a priest who walks into the middle of the church and says, "Oh God, I'm pretty awesome, I've got it all together." And the other guy walks in the back, can't even bring himself to walk in, and he says, "Just have mercy on me, a sinner." And Jesus says, only one of them walked away with you. Only one of them walked away okay in my sight. How can we be honest? But awaken, let's grieve. Let's acknowledge that this world isn't as it should be once we awaken to that. Otherwise, our actions will all be in anger, and they will lead to violence. And a wise man once said, most of anger is actually unprocessed grief. Most of our anger is actually unprocessed. How can we bring our hurts and our heartaches and our hang-ups to a place like this, to a community like this, to a God like this, who holds us and can heal, and it can actually then push us to move towards action? And that's where we get our final 2 A's, because we need to be allies of awkwardness.
You've done well.
There you go. Because there's this amazing effect. They call it the Orphan Annie effect. It's another A. When they do this, they get people to read a bunch of words, but then so they'll write the word blue, but it's all written in green text, and it's really hard. It's really taxing to do that. And they did this experiment where they took a whole bunch of white American people and they made them interact with African American people before they did the test. And after that test, they did the test, and what they found is after they'd interacted with African American people, they found it harder to do that test. And then they gave them another series of tests because of the cognitive energy it took. And then they got African American people for one control group to share to the white Americans about their ability, their difficulties and their struggles. Then they asked them a question about how would you rate your life to the white Americans. Would you rate it as difficult or privileged? And the control group gave a set of ratings, but the group that actually had listened to the African Americans speak about their experiences of oppression and police and their experiences of what's happened in the police force and historically, after listening to them, they reported their lives as worse. Surprising. They call it the Orphan Annie effect, you know. You know that song, It's a Hard Knock Life? Yeah. It's you know, it's kind of, there's a pile-on in that song. Oh, you reckon that's bad? I had to do this, you know. It's a bit like that. Luxury. You know, I had to walk 50 miles to school. You know, yes. Yeah. And I quote Monty Python as someone who does not like the comedy of Monty Python. I don't, and I'm probably going to lose a lot of people in the audience. I don't find it funny when a person says he's hilarious, he walks funny.
It's not funny.
It's not funny at all. I'm not funny either. But here's the thing, they rate their lives as worse off because it makes us feel uncomfortable when we hear that. And we always search for something that we can justify it with. So when you become an ally, when you need to listen, I'm a coloured person, right? But I'm still, and I learned this from my daughters, I'm still cis, I'm still het, I still don't know what they mean. I identify with the gender in which I was born. I'm a heterosexual male. I am well educated. You know, if you ask me, I worked hard at university, and then someone may point out that I actually went to a private school. And they'll go, but. See that reaction? That's the reaction that comes in all of us. When we are, the way we awaken to what's going on is through active listening. Active listening to people who are different from ourselves. And that will always make you ask awkward questions. You'll always feel awkward. And I tell you what, the best thing, I've got lots of A's in this, awkward, ask questions, apologise when we make mistakes. Just apologise. And it's not, I'm sorry, but. I'm sorry if you found that offensive. Let's just apologise. But let's continue to bravely and boldly be awkward. To build relationships and connections with other people. And that will give us the place from which to act. Because action, we're not going to create a better world through our beliefs. This world doesn't care what you think, it cares what you do.
Yes.
That's what makes a difference. That's what changes it. And that's why this week I was challenged to have a look at the new legislation being proposed in the members of the Legislative Council around the Anti-Discrimination Amendment for the Religious Freedoms and Equality Bill that's being in there. And I'm going to be doing a lot of research on this and kind of basically allows, I should ask Jonny what this does. It's kind of privileges freedom of speech, which I agree with. I think we all need freedom of speech, but it kind of narrows the focus down to me as a person, as a religious leader, and me as an employer. And I think the bill is the beginning of something good, but it just doesn't go far enough.
What do you mean?
It kind of gives, if we're talking about religious freedom and equality, it's that for me doesn't mean it gives me impunity from saying something hurtful against someone whose lifestyle I don't believe in.
So then the bill has to be amended so that you don't say something against that, because it allows you at the moment to?
Correct. That's the proposal there. And also part of the proposal is also I get some rights that others don't get. And for a group like the church, who has enjoyed a lot of rights already, I think we've had enough rights.
So many rights.
And we need to learn what it's a bit like to be serving.
Is it all religions?
Demanding our rights.
Is it all religions?
No, it's not even all religions.
So that's the thing. So it's exclusive already.
So it's exclusive already.
Okay.
Wow. Right. So I'm going to learn more. I'm very difficultly fumbling it through, but I'm not just going to learn more so I can think about it better, but so I can act.
Does it include culture, like First Nations people?
No.
So, okay. Alright.
So,
Okay.
and a lot of questions.
Mark Latham.
Mark Latham proposed a bill
So
for
we
One
can't-
Nation.
that's
So look, I say, good on you, Mark. Good start. But it's got to go much further.
You're a
than that.
wanker.
No,
Much
Mark
further.
Latham, he's a wanker.
Yeah.
He destroyed the full council, that's why he's a wanker.
I'm not sure how many masses have ended with that word. Right?
Yeah, but listen to that bill. That's an absurd bill. So
It is an absurd bill.
That word is that's appropriate.
So we need to not be afraid of anger. We need to awaken, to acknowledge, to act, to be awkward allies in the fight. And if we can do those things, that's the way we're going to grow, not only as a community, but we're actually going to build the world in the way that God wants it to be. A place where there is no more fear. Even to the point where we need to sometimes take some risks to mess up. I was hearing after the Pulse nightclub, which was something that happened a few years ago, and across the other side of the world, a guy went to work, but he was traumatised. A gay man was traumatised because of what had happened there. And we did that thing where they just didn't talk about it at all until someone at work said, "How are you?" Took that risk to say, "How are you doing?" He said that was the thing that made the difference, was someone taking the risk to make a move towards me, to ask me how I was. Our culture, again, is set up so stupid. If someone's struggling, what do? Let's leave them alone. I think being alone is the problem with our society. But then we're so risk averse, right? How can we build a culture that's not afraid to flip a few tables over, to take action in the right direction, to create...
But the other thing the culture does with that is that they, with like stigmatism, health, they just want to lock people away and that doesn't do anyone any good either.
No.
Absolutely. Just how do we create a culture that doesn't... Look, the history of colonised Australia is a history of incarceration. That's the great contribution of social policy to Australia.
Yeah.
Oh, hello, you're Aboriginal, you're a problem, go to jail. You got mental health, go to jail. You're a child without a parent, go to jail. Right? This is our social
You're homeless,
policy.
go to jail.
If you're homeless, go to jail.
Yeah, for
Right.
sleeping on the street.
So how do we... I mean, that's it. Oh, you're an asylum seeker, you're a problem, where do we put you?
Jail.
Jail.
And it's expensive.
It doesn't matter. Our social policy is to incarcerate.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's
And if
expensive.
you speak up against gay bashing in uniting churches, you get excommunicated.
There is still a cultural problem at the heart of all our systems and institutions that need constant reform. We can never let rest on our laurels. So thanks for that, guys. It's been a day.
It's been a big day.
I'm going to go to the radio at 10 p.m. tonight. ADC. All right.
If nothing better comes
Thank
along.
you, everyone. Sorry we've gone over time. It's
Never.
awesome. Please stand up and let's try and form a rough peanut, but only with elbows.
We never did this!
Only with elbows. Let's do it with our elbows.
Oh my God.
All right, we haven't done this for a while. No linking, just elbow. I don't know if Carol wouldn't have done a peanut with us.
I know I have.
You have done a peanut? All right.
We're doing a pin-up. Can you
Oh,
stay here?
how good is this? May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. Amen.
Amen.
All right, stick around. We've got some lunch here coming up soon. And I love it across hits you in the pocket. I'm just going to leave it up here on the table. Thank you.
Wayside flags. They're not good flags. I don't think they're shown to us. All of your stuff.
I went to work last night because I had to work. Come in. So I had a rainbow halo and I had